Hello, in this video we're looking at working with yield data. It's how we navigate around the windows, how we select fields, how we view maps, and then spotting potential problems with fields and data. So let's go and have a look at some yield data. Okay, so we have a window full and a computer full of data, and the first thing that we'll look at to start off with is on our management tree here we have some names of growers in capitals under Fordry and Lovett, and some in lowercase. What this means is that as we created our management tree before we harvested, that Barclay Hicks and Sons and Barton Farms Limited were created on the management tree. Fordry was created on the monitor because it's in capitals. So this is one of the reasons why it's good to create the management tree in lowercase letters on the management tree in the software rather than in uppercase, because it immediately draws our attention to this area. Now if we have a look through some of the fields that we have here, we see Oak B and Oak S. I presume that has something to do with oak tree. Again, this was created by the operator in the field for some farming reason, and as long as it's in capitals we know what it is and we can do some more investigation as to what's happening there. Same with Flam 2 and Watery and Woodside. So the operator has done something there, so we just need to be aware of that. And that's one of the reasons for doing it. Now we've imported a number of years worth of yield data, and as we scroll through it we notice that there's some tasks that don't have boxes next to them. Well, this is because there's no GPS data attached to the data files. This is one very good reason why on the first couple of days of harvesting we bring our USB sticks back into the software just to check to make sure that this was happening. This was an error that was created by me, I'll own up to it, because I didn't check, so I didn't follow my own information. If I'd have checked, I wouldn't have wasted a day in recording data. There was an error on the GPS unit, which on closer investigation, when we brought the data back in, was solved very, very quickly, and the rest of harvest was perfectly fine. So it happens to us all, so don't feel as though you should hope that it will last the whole of harvest. Check it and make sure that it's done correctly. So that's one thing that you can do and identify very quickly. Now there's a little tick box up here that says filter jobs by selection, which is quite useful. If I at the moment it's unticked and I see everything for all of our farms, whereas as soon as I tick it, what we see now is only home farm information showing. And then if I select Barn Heath as a field, we start to navigate down to that particular field. So it filters out very quickly only the field that we want to look at. And in my mind this is a very logical maneuver and a selection to use because it helps us navigate our way around our farms and our fields much more logically as to what's going on. So we'll leave that one selected at the moment. Then we'll move across the top to the map tab. And the map tab, this is the main window, the large white area where we will see our maps. Then we have our jobs tabs here, and we just alter the height slightly. We see them on top of each other, whereas we have our jobs tab here. And as soon as we tick one of these boxes, we will see a map appear. It doesn't tell us anything about what the map is, what the scale is, what it's showing, but if we untick it, it will disappear. The one thing we do notice though, once we've ticked that map, the box goes, it is not as bold as it was. That's the only difference is that it has been looked at in comparison to the other one. In comparison to when it isn't, when it is bold. If we tick this one, then it will change. So now I am seeing two fields together. And straight away, if I untick that, I notice that I've got two fields under the one name. And this is corner field. And if I tick the top one again, I just go to a very small line within our field. So I'm alerted to the fact that there's something interesting going on with this particular task, and it looks as though the operator's gone from one of the fields to the other without changing tasks. So we've got two lots of data two lots of field data under one task, and again, might be a common occurrence, but we'll look at how we split out those and separate them in the future. So let's deal with the bottom task, because that's a little bit easier and it's in the right place. We look at the next tab down, that's layers, and this is where we can view information that has come from the monitor. So we've got distance, we've got dry yield, we've got duration, we've got elevation, mass yield, heading, which direction we're going, moisture, speed, all of these pieces of information that we've got. We see there that there's a slightly narrow width, so he's combining at 5 meters rather than 7.62. But the ones that we're really interested in is dry yield. So there we've got a map, we're looking at it. And in future videos we'll look at the scales that we have here on the right hand side, how we remove the low yielding data, and this was some that I didn't filter out when I bought the data in, and so that's why we've got a 0 yield there. If I use my mouse and drag over the whole of the field and I click the information tab, it brings up information about those specific GPS points, which can be helpful on some occasions. So these are the 3 main tabs that you want to be using to view our data. So if we look at jobs, that will bring up the map, or if we tick and untick that. If we look on, if we just untick it now, if we look at our management tree, and if we want to double click the yield data, then we can do, and that will bring up a map on the screen. So that's another way in which we can view our map. So if we untick it and tick it again, it does exactly the same process. So there's many different ways in which we can bring the data to our screen.